Welcome to the Emerging Lawyer series at the Coffee Conversation Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum TIF and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Theme is a brew of IPR, AI, and all things law. We have with us Vibhav Mithal, Associate Partner, Anand and Anand, a global fellow in AI and law at For Humanity and a contributor to AI audit frameworks, an associate research fellow at the Center for Responsible AI, IIT Madras, shaping the future of AI governance in India and beyond. Vibhav brings together deep expertise in intellectual property litigation, data protection, and the ethical frameworks of artificial intelligence in the realm of responsible AI and AI governance. Let's get to know the man behind the legal brilliance, his professional path, personal pursuits, and who Vibhav is as a person. So, welcome, Vibhav, to today's coffee conversation.
No, no, my pleasure. My pleasure to be here. Thanks so much, and it's looking forward to having this conversation. Of course, with coffee.
Yeah, fine. Okay. So, let me explain you the flow and the format, Vibhav. There are three rounds:
Hmm.
professional, personal, and a surprise rapid fire where you will be in the hot seat, like you're on Coffee and Current. And here's your inspiration: Legal AI 101.
Right,
So everything AI you're getting in the conversation and your gift also.
right.
Okay. So friends, I'm Lion Amir Virani, host at Coffee Conversation and Legal Tech Evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, author of 15 books. We help law firms, corporate legal, startups, SMEs with world-class technology, software licensing, and tech training solutions. So my first question, Vibhav. You
Hmm.
have had an fascinating legal journey that merges intellectual property with AI. What sparked your interest in these two fields and how did they converge in your career and how has the journey been till date?
Well, the journey till date has been fantastic. I can reverse engineer and say that the journey in IP started first. I used to do a lot of theater in school. In sort of 10th, 11th, and 12th, there were a lot of plays. Used to write plays, act in plays, if not that, direct plays. So that sort of led me to when I was in law school. That led me when intellectual property was taught. I think it was in fourth year of my law school when I was at NUJS Calcutta. I found the area of IP very interesting. I had got interested in various other subjects before as well in the first 3 years of law school. But in the fourth year, when we came across IP and we discovered how IP law protects creators, protects artists, protects lyricists from a copyright law perspective, I think that sparked my interest. That was one. Two, I also had very good faculty at that time at NUJS Calcutta, Shamnad Bashir, Vishwas Deveya, Anirban Majumdar, who's still there. And those three professors played a key role in shaping my interest. I also interned in a fair number of places. And eventually, what happened was in my final year, I got recruited by Anand and Anand, where I still am. I just completed 12 years actually at the firm yesterday. And that interest of IP, interest in academia, in one sense, got transposed into a practical understanding of the field. I've been an IP litigator for 10 years, over 10 years now. I'd gone and done my master's also on a sabbatical from the firm in the middle for 1.5 years to America, also in IP. So I think it just built that interest out of curiosity, a connect with theater, and then the work. Now, how did I come to AI? Because as a part of IP journey, I did a lot of patent litigation. And when you do patent litigation, we have to understand the technology. We have to understand what the engineer is trying to say. We have to then translate it into what we would like to say in a lawsuit or an appeal or whatever legal action you want to file. And then you also have to have the ability to be able to communicate it in a manner to in a way that also your seniors understand, a briefing counsel understands. You yourself are able to communicate to a judge if you're standing before a judge. And that process learned it iteratively, our idea of communicating complex technologies in a simple way. And I think that learning, sometime 4 years back, about 4.5 years back, in early 2020, that got translated into AI. I got interested in AI as an area, and I started reading up on it. And I think the main point here is the way one would communicate concepts of patent law in a simple manner, or demystify them, break them down to understand them. The same sort of understanding of tech and AI happened, and I just that journey just evolved from there, and I came into AI, and then it sort of ran parallelly.
Wow. Okay. So let's dive deep into the conversation, Vibhav. In your experience, how different is the approach to IP law in India compared to the US and to other countries, especially given your LLM from Boston University?
Okay, so IP law is fairly global, right? One of the reasons why I would go and pursue a master's in the US is because the US had a culture of intellectual property dating back a long time. And I think the principles that I learned at BU on in patents, trademark law, copyright law, some of them I had already learned at practice at work. But the LLM was brilliant for the fact that it superimposed more structure, reinforced certain concepts, built new concepts, and it only increased my curiosity. I would not say that there would be regional differences in certain practices between US and India, but the broader principles of how IP protection is given, whether it be in copyright law, whether it be in trademark law, whether in patent law, except for some minor variations here and there, which would differ upon the case and very not easy to highlight in the abstract here. These laws, on a very conceptual level, at a very broad level, remain the same. As a matter of fact, when we are arguing cases in court, Indian courts are very open to accepting cases from foreign jurisdictions to be able to uh, understand, or to be able to see if any of them are relevant for the fact in dispute. Of course, they go on further to decide on their own sort of, but the point is that when we're talking about differences, we are open to learning from what is there in other case law, and then sort of apply it to our local context. And that's pretty much what I'm doing when I say that they're the same. They're the same, but they're different. So that's really
Wow.
the approach.
Wow. So, Vibhav, at Anand and Anand, you have handled landmark litigations. Could you share one case that truly challenged your perspective as a litigator, especially for IP cases?
Yeah, that so we've done. It's difficult to really identify one, but I will pick one. It'll have to be the first of all. I've done many, right? So we've done the Roche Cipla appeal. That was literally the first case I was handled. That was the first case in the Indian Patents Act that had concluded post trial, and we were in the first appeal in the Delhi High Court. I've done the Enercon cases in the Supreme Court. I've done the first software patent, Faridilani, before the IPAB. Um, we've done another one on in trademarks, where you create how in trademark, when you associate a particular brand, how that is connected to the concept of associationism in your human mind. I mean, these are all great cases, but if I have to pick one, and I've enjoyed each one of them, and I don't, and it doesn't have to be a big case for me to really enjoy it. It has to be the point of law. But if I have to pick one, it will have to be the Monsanto case. This is a case that was came as an appeal in the Supreme Court. It involved a issue of law, which was Section 3J of the Patents Act, and whether the invention involved in the dispute was a gene, or was it an artificial DNA construct, or was it a plant seed, part of a plant, and therefore Section 3J applied to it, and it was not eligible for patent protection. Why that case was special was because I think I'd come back from my LLM 7 months back. Not only was I not only was at that point in time as a senior associate in the firm, was I not only the junior most also in a big team, and we were working across with two other firms as well as a very big team. I kind of knew the files inside out, and I kind of also, because it was the Supreme Court, the challenging part was that it was in the Supreme Court. So let's give an example. Sometimes when you're arguing before the Supreme Court, you might even have to, you there is no question. It's an interaction, right? And when it's an interaction, the questions may not always fall in existing structures of how you're looking at law. For example, one could, if you're in an exchange, someone could make an argument the sky is not blue, the sky is actually purple. I've seen the sky is purple. The sky is purple, then it was red, then it's orange. Well, it's orange technically, but let's say it's purple, it was red, it was pink, but the sky is definitely not blue. And someone's made that argument. Now, when you have to respond to that argument, you have to then think in terms of, but the person is just everyone knows the sky is blue, or the sky turns black in the night. No one's ever said the sky is purple, or no one's ever said that the sky is pink, right? And then you have to, because we're arguing such questions of law that have never been argued before, it's possible that someone might think in that point of time that maybe the sky could be purple. Who knows? And to be able to respond to such arguments, to be able to articulate your responses, to be able to find supporting material, research, to counter all types of defenses that would come, or even to communicate your own point, which could be unique at that point of time when it is being argued in court. I think that is really what made it a very challenging case, and it was very intense. I think we worked on it for. I mean, I personally worked on. I think I was just only doing that for 6 months at one point of time. I mean, we did other work, but with the intensity improved, I kind of focused there. And I remember very distinctly that when the argument started in the Supreme Court in October of 2018 and it concluded sometime in November 2018, I think I did about 650 hours in the office, which I'm not glorifying at all. What I'm trying to highlight is that sometimes certain questions require answers that require that kind of effort. And I wasn't keeping track of the time. I was just informed that I was time. So it was challenging in many ways. Challenging in terms of the intensity, in terms of the effort it took, the amount that it takes um, in trying to find answers. And interestingly enough, nowadays, when I work on certain propositions of AI, whether it be in research capacity, whether it be with a trade body, whether it be a paper with someone, uh, those questions and those challenges, so they challenge me in that direction. There are many things that fall in between. There are many cases on many points that are hard solves. It takes effort to solve them. But if one was to talk about a terrain like white space, I say they say is in a new undiscovered area in patent law, in patent prosecution, I believe I just learned this term recently. And you talk about areas where less people have uncovered. I think the similar challenges arise in some propositions of AI at least nowadays. So yeah, that's been my experience. I mean, it was very it's one case that's been 7 years since it ended, but it's one that stands out. But there's a lot that I've learned from it, which I continue to apply daily, whether it be in the IP space or the AI space.
Good. So let's go to the next role, your contribution to AI. What has been the most fulfilling aspect of contributing to AI audit frameworks with for humanity and developing responsible AI frameworks such as the developers playbook for responsible AI with NASCOM?
Now, that's an excellent question. So I think both are in two different tracks. So the audit framework part is simply for humanity is a public charity. It operates with
Hmm.
it coordinates with European regulators, US regulators, and it's building what is known as an AI audit criteria. This is different from an building a tech tool that helps you in audit. They're actually drafting AI audit criteria in their own manner by setting up an organizational structure and to enable compliance with different laws. And one of the things that I've enjoyed in that process, and I've been co-lead of Team India there for 4 years now, and I've also contributed to their different audit criteria, which they've submitted to the UK regulator, then they submitted to some other European regulator in Luxembourg, and then French, and then Austria. Is that it helps me learn how unique artificial intelligence really is if you're looking to comply with, well, I would say complying with laws is one part, and which is why the playbook will come as the next point, right? Because the AI audit criteria is pegged on a law. It's framed around a law like a EU AI Act or a Digital Services Act, or in the Indian context, we're drafting it on the India's data protection law, right? That's and it's fascinating because you get to see that intersection, and how you really each time we draft an audit criteria, we learn how different and unique AI is. And in that sense, if we take that learning, and we worked on the developers playbook for responsible AI with NASCOM last year, right? And when we did that, it why that was fascinating was because, one, there was no precedent to what we were trying to do. That sort of goes back to the previous question where I said that there's sometimes those questions come in AI. Now, when there was no precedent what we were supposed to do, what worked very well was that I think NASCOM was very clear that they wanted a risk mitigation guide intended for startups, and was looking to create actionable items for responsible AI in India. Now, prior to 2024, before we wrote the playbook, from 2018 to 2023 or early 2024, we've always had responsible AI principles. Till date, we have responsible AI principles, and these principles operate at a high level. Every organization finds their own way to operationalize and implement these principles in practice, right? Now, in that scenario, the playbook was helpful in because of the fact that it taught us also, while we brought in the expertise on AI, the expertise of, so we conceptualize an AI life cycle. We said there'll be 4 stages of AI development. Then we divided into 3 types of AI that could exist. So made it 12 silos, 4 life cycles, 3 types of AI. So there are like 12 silos. And while we brought in the expertise, I think the entire idea of how to communicate to an entire technical audience on concepts of law, and they weren't laws in some of the areas that we've incorporated in the playbook, but they did fall within the realm of responsible AI. So it was a good practice. So it was more like trying to do something for the ecosystem, trying to do something for the Indian ecosystem, trying to communicate what would take things forward, and finding the way to communicate better by working in that team, right? And I think the entire process of unlearning as a lawyer, learning how to speak to a tech professional, and sort of converting your understanding into a language that the relevant audience will understand, I think that was fairly challenging and fun. And as luck would have it, the playbook was received very well.
Yeah. Okay. Our viewers out there curious to know two questions. What is responsible AI? First one. And second one is how can companies implement responsible AI policy, especially the HR and the CISO?
Right. And these are again very good questions. So, okay, so responsible AI. See, it's that answer is easier in India. I'd be honest, because India has the Niti Aayog principles of responsible AI, which came out in 2021. And if I have to take something as an authoritative guide, I would just refer to those principles. And those principles means there has to be your AI systems or anything that you're developing. You have to follow the principle of privacy, safety, security. There must be accountability, which is concept of audit should be there. There should be no bias. So there should be no bias. There should be no discrimination. There should be fairness. Those are the concepts, broad concepts of responsible AI. Now, But I think at an abstract level, no one will disagree that AI should not discriminate. AI should be fair. AI should obviously respect, you should respect privacy. AI systems should be secure. I think when we are talking about making responsible AI's principles actionable, and when organizations are looking at it, we have to understand one, where are they operating in? What is their role in the AI ecosystem? Are they a foundation model developer? Are they building a tool? Are they building a foundation model like ChatGPT or Llama, or any of those four sort of models that have been approved by India by the India AI mission? Or are you using an existing model like ChatGPT and fine tuning and building an application on top of it, right? So that's knowing your role. Two, you have to know which, then responsible AI also involves understanding which current laws apply to you. For example, if you're operating in a intellectual property domain, hypothetically, if you're building an AI model in the creative space, then you would like to see which IP law applies to you or does not. Are you taking users' consent? Then does privacy law apply to you? Is your AI application involved, which may have a product safety angle, in which case the consumer protection law may apply to you because there are some laws around there. Assuming that none of these laws apply to you, then what good practices can you embed in your design and development? As a matter of fact, there is a standard also now. So, of course, the AI audit work with For Humanity covers precisely these aspects by creating a broader structure and of the audit criteria framework about different committees in an organization. An algorithmic risk committee will take care of the risks eminent in the algorithm. An ethics committee will capture the ethical choices developers may subconsciously do, because if there are five people of particular nationality or particular background in the room, a sixth perspective may be missing from the room. And when you're designing the algorithm, the missing perspective may not go into the design of the algorithm. So it's an ethical choice you've made based on the ethical shared framework of the five developers in the room, right? So you have, in the For Humanity context, you'll have algorithmic risk committee, you have the ethics risk committee. So you can design, organizations can go that committee route. They can pick some bits and pieces of the criteria there, which is still completely voluntary. Alternatively, which is also something that I've now sort of moved towards, is known as ISO 42001. It's the AI management standard. It's the first AI management standard in the globe, which talks about how an organization wants to integrate AI systems into their sort of operations. What are they supposed to do? So, an organization has to know where they're operating, what their role is, how they're building the AI, why do they need AI, which current laws apply, if they don't, which voluntary frameworks they want to refer to. And then one is an ISO framework that they can go to. They can also go to a For Humanity framework, but it requires a back and forth sort of an exchange to really operationalize responsible AI principles, because it will be very contextual. It will depend. Not all principle responsible AI may apply to you. Maybe all might. It really depends on what you're doing. What if you're the one who's just collecting data? Then data one applies to you. If you're the one who's building on top of an existing model, and maybe for the fintech space, then security aspects matter to you. Sectoral regulations matter for you. So, I mean, these are just broad ideas that I can present at this point. But it's just like you and I are talking, Mr. Virani. It's an exchange. We have to correspond with the organization to find the answer to this question, and the nub of this is if I want to find the answer to the question. If I'm going to be living in AI in a world where I think that let the law pass, let the law come into the picture, then I will study the law, then I will implement the law. By that time, the technology would have already been implemented across the board. Here, the trick lies in being proactive, in being very clear why you need AI, how AI helps your business, and where you need your advice, and just keep moving forward.
Beautiful. So you're giving me another conversation, like a panel discussion on AI frameworks. So we have done apna coffee conversation with Lina Tibrewal, who is the founder of My Contracts. Then
Right.
apna with Anatoly, he's based in Ukraine.
Very nice.
Case Research AI. Then there is another
Yes.
one, ye CEO,
Right.
ye for ODR platform,
Wonderful. I can.
Ryan.
Very
So let's
nice.
get all of you all and have a conversation how they are using AI for their platforms and you grilling them.
No, no, my work. No, no, I'm aware of
I
some
know
of these
jokes
names,
apart,
and of course, no,
but
no,
I
but it's
so
a
much I'm learning so much things on different aspects how different laws come in what stage the product is going through.
correct,
Like
and
you
I
said,
think, and in
fintech, IP, consent के लिए, privacy, so many things. अपना consumer, so what do you say? A developer must not be knowing कि भाई he has to cater to so many sections of law.
exactly, exactly.
Thanks for that.
That's why the playbook helps because it gives them a macro picture, and it's an excellent point. I know some of the names that you've mentioned there,
Wow.
and the point is that I've interacted with one of them, I think also. The point is that uh,
Okay.
this is a
Let
great
me
point.
know. Let me know in the private who that person was
Yes,
afterwards.
yes, yes, yes. And the thing here is that
Hmm.
all of them are operating at a tool sort of level or at a governance level, right? I am operating in the governance space, and for me,
I know.
anyone operating here, for me, this is very important. And knowing how they're building their tools is very important, and my role is to help them help themselves, but also look at things that they may not be looking, just like you said, that everyone's not possible for everyone to know everything, so you need a different
Yes.
perspective in
Yeah.
the room to find a new track.
Like yesterday, I was apna 2 days back. I was having conversation with Sujay Mukherjee, uh, ye, mm, from Nayak and Nayak. Uh, so like you were sharing something by now they have to uh, script this OTT platform script writing they have to sit with them understand what goes into script writing they have to for pre post and they have become like script writers vetting the scripts because OTT platform there is no a body like apna a film body is there for the films so they are playing a quasi role.
No, that's sounds like important work to me.
Yeah. Okay. uh, I was going through one of the articles which helped me to frame this question with you from HBR. Because I read a lot, and they had come up with this. This article was there for using AI in companies. So companies have
Hmm.
to frame policies for employees. Okay, what is the right thing? Then now law firms are also implementing AI for their team members for usage. So what are your views? How should law firms make policies for being a responsible AI for the associates, senior associates, partners? Because they are now implementing different tools. Someone is implementing Harvey, someone is implementing Jurisphere, Lucio, SpotUp, so many things. So, like, what are your views for them?
No, no, of course. So first of all, I think the AI, just because you brought in the word AI policy, it'll be important to conceptualize and clarify for the audience. AI policy is something that an organization which is building an AI system will draft for its employees and stakeholders to be able to communicate clearly why they are using AI or why they're embedding an AI system in the organization. Interestingly enough, AI policy is one of the initial documents that one has to make while implementing ISO 42001 standard. Now, your second part of the question is in terms of law firms using different tools. Now, when we look at different tools, I think there it's very important. It's very important to understand when and why and for what tasks you're using AI for. And I think when you're using that, it's important to understand the limitations of AI, which is that it could hallucinate. It could provide you with a summary that may not actually exist in the document that was summarized. So I think before we even move to the policy in a law firm scenario, it's important for us to know what tasks are we using AI for. And more so because of the fact that law firms work with such confidential data, we also have to be
Mm.
very clear what sort of data are we using with the tool, right? Because that's equally important, right? Like, I mean, it'll be safer to say upload a publicly available decision to
Mm.
summarize it, or to use. So that clarity is very important, that how are you sort of taking client data in the tool. Third, when we use talk about the actual tool itself, uh, like, I may also act as a advisor to Jurisphere AI, right? So the and one of the things I like about there, and I haven't yet, I'm aware of both Harvey and Lucio, uh, and I think both are abroad, right? So the Jurisphere is, I think, an Indian-based thing, but the point is, the one that I've used at least in terms of just to test out, right, before I sort of came on as advisor, is Jurisphere sort of gives you sources, right? Or the tool, and not even Jurisphere. I mean, if you look at Perplexity, for that matter, if you use Perplexity as a search tool, it provides you with footnotes to each conclusion. I think those
Mhm.
aspects are very important. I think if I have to sum it in one word as to what is needed, it is the aspect of human oversight. You have to verify what an AI output has been created. You have to be, first of all, you have to be clear whether you need it, for what task you need it, and what do you expect an AI to do for you in order to augment your work. So your work has to get augmented. One.
Yes.
Two, if your work is in fact getting augmented by these series of decisions that you've taken before you used the AI tool, then it is extremely important for you to be able to exercise sufficient human oversight on it, to be able to understand, can I rely on this output, right? Because that's important to know. And therefore, if any law firm is looking to make any policy around AI use, very similar to how perhaps an AI policy would be made to an organization, we have to be very clear about why are we doing it, for what tasks are we doing it, what tasks are prohibited, for example, like what we cannot use it for, and if an
Mm.
output comes out of it, how are we putting in mechanisms to check that output before we actually use it. And
Yes.
finally, the fifth point would be that how are we using the data on that platform. That is, I mean,
Yeah.
for me personally, I think uh, quite circumspect in terms of using an AI tool in that sense for confidential information. It's good to use it. So how I'm using the data in the tool becomes critical. And then I think then it's a interaction, sort of a law to law firm, law firm versus tool sort of a scenario that comes into the picture, because that then requires a certain level of more detail and interaction.
Beautiful. Okay. Uh, Vibhav, you also involved with Sirai. Can
Hmm.
you tell us about what Sirai is and your work over there?
Right. So Sirai is a virtual interdisciplinary, well, not virtual, it's also physically present in Chennai, but it's a interdisciplinary center for responsible AI at IIT Madras. It's
Mm.
led by someone known as Professor Balraman Ravindran Ravi. He's a I think the beauty about that center, I mean, Professor Ravi is Professor Ravi. He was just listed in the Forbes 30 and Forbes the 30 individuals for AI like 2 3 days ago, right? For India, shaping the Indian AI ecosystem. But I think the beauty about Sirai, and why I really like working there in an affiliate capacity, is the fact that they understand the
Mhm.
value of non-technical perspectives. I mean, I think that's really critical. It again goes back to the point that you made, Mr. Virani, that it's not possible for a developer to know everything, right?
Yes.
And Sirai to have a center focusing purely on AI, to on responsible AI in a location like in an institute like IIT Madras, which I believe is one of the top engineering colleges in the country, and then to also integrate in their process as non-resident fellows, non-technical folk. I think that sets a very beautiful blend. My
Mm,
work with them, to the extent that is there in public domain, is working with them on
mm,
sort of thought leadership pieces. We've done an article on AI washing, which is sort of again taking the concept of current laws and applying them to AI. Ravi, that was with Omer, who's a policy analyst there. The other one is with Professor Ravi himself and Omer on AI safety. We looked at this concept of how in the UK they changed the concept of safety to security, and then how we wrote about an article on AI safety itself, like building on Professor Ravi and Krishnan's previous work. We sort of took it to track. So it's some op-ed pieces in terms of, I would say, enhancing understanding on AI concepts. It's being part of certain roundtables which require discussions about various aspects, which, for example, we did a roundtable on the impact of AI in agriculture in March, right? When I think Boston Consulting Group, Google were releasing a report. The report focused on healthcare, focused on agriculture. We were sort of we were doing the roundtable on agriculture to try and figure out how we'd like to focus on that, right? And how would AI and agriculture operate together, which itself, agriculture being a state subject with different states having different perspectives, AI's integration with agriculture also becomes a very interesting domain. So yeah, so my work with them is more on the lines of AI awareness, advising them in various projects, which some of it may not be in public domain, and things that come out in public domain is predominantly thought leadership pieces, consultations, and it's an evolving journey. Like, because I think the space is also new. I mean, I think the
yes.
key feature here is just the fact that we have non-technical folks blending in with technical folks, and I think that by itself
Yeah,
is an important thing to acknowledge.
that's impressive. So, we were someone who speaks regularly across international platforms. Do you see India's voice shaping the global AI discourse?
I think India has been fairly proactive. I think
Yeah.
there is as a matter of fact, there was an article, there's a book chapter that we wrote last year in July 24 with Anand and Anand, the entire team. We put in place all voluntary frameworks and current laws that apply to AI at that point of time. And that book chapter was published for Lexology, Artificial Intelligence Law. It sort of became it was very widely read. Now, why I bring that up as a response to the answer to your question is that India has been proactive. We have to have the ability to be able to understand that it's proactive, right? We've had the national strategy out in 2018. We built the responsible AI principles in 2021. Took out another paper. Niti Aayog took out another paper on operationalizing the principles in August 2021. This is all before ChatGPT. IP issues weren't even there as a responsible AI aspect because no infringement by IP had happened while generative AI applications in August 2021. We have had the telecommunication engineering center, which is be a part of Department of Telecommunications, Government of India, take out an AI fairness assessment framework. Like, there's an actual voluntary bias mitigation framework that exists, right? That sort of came out as a voluntary framework. There is a framework for ascertaining robustness of an AI system, I believe also by TEC, which came out late last year. We, of course, then have the India AI mission, which was released last year in 24 March, which sort of focuses on 7 different pillars: compute capacity, skill development, application development, safe and trusted AI pillar, which is really where my work sort of comes in. We have the developers playbook for responsible AI that we drafted, which got aligned with uh, the safe and trusted AI pillar at that point of time. I've actually worked with a RecTech platform known as AI and Partners, which in April 2025, and I think 6 weeks back or 4 weeks back, we published an India AI ecosystem report to sort of
Mm.
communicate the what is happening in India, from a uh, from an ecosystem perspective, from a governance perspective. I think there's a lot that's happening here in term, and then of course we've had cases, right? I mean, we've done the Anand and Anand has done personality right cases. We've done the Anil Kapoor case. We've done, which was where you were protecting his personality rights. We've done there was a case that we did for a well-known brand maker, Christian Louboutin, where the judge spoke something about limitations of ChatGPT. We've done the case for Jackie Shroff, where we spoke about
Mm.
a chatbot sort of using AI, and there were components of AI in these cases, right? And I'm just trying to
Ah,
highlight the fact that there are court cases that are happening there, and of course we also now have the OpenAI versus ANI dispute, which sort of focuses more on the copyright trading aspect. But see, this is the point.
yes.
We can acknowledge OpenAI versus ANI. It's an important dispute, and of course, it'll clarify a lot of things. But we've had disputes intersecting with AI prior to that from 2023. So when we answer this question about what India has done, we also have to be clear about what perspective are we looking at. If we're looking about only compute capacity and application and foundation model development, the answer lies in India AI mission. If you're talking about voluntary frameworks to help clients, to guide clients on risk mitigation, then we have the developers playbook for responsible AI. We have organizations own internal measures helping themselves. So it's a perspective, but if I have to sum it up, I would say that India has been fairly proactive in this space, from a long time. And we have to, it depends on which perspective and which angle are we looking at India for. But if you look at it holistically, both at a principal level, investment level, sort of uh, in a desire to build an Indian ecosystem perspective, I think we're working quite hard. And of course, we're also, I believe, hosting again. There was the AI Action Summit in Paris earlier this year in March. I believe we're hosting one next year. I mean, so there's we hosted the GPay Summit in December 23, which was on India was the president of the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. We hosted that as well. So I think there's a lot of action. You just need to know where you want to fit and how you're looking at it.
That's interesting. Okay, continue my conversation. EU has implemented the AI Act. Now Japan has followed. Uh, our DPDP Act is somewhat covering AI, but there are more actions to be needed for an AI regulations. How is India, the legal system working in that direction? Since you are
Right.
into so many things, so what
Yeah.
is your uh, picture on it?
No, I
Your
think, yeah. So that's a very good question. I think it's an excellent question, because I think so. What has happened is, I want to take one step back. When you had the EU come out with the EU AI Act, I think people, or I would say general understanding, sort of, you got biased into thinking that I need one law that describes AI comprehensively. And till I do not have that one law that defines AI completely for me, I don't have a law that covers AI. I personally do not agree with that sort of a perspective. I think the developments that you mentioned, the EU AI Act, the Japan uh, provision, all of these, particularly the EU AI Act, all of these may provide instructive guidance if I'm looking at them with a particular perspective. For example, if I'm looking at the concept of risk management of AI systems, I could look at a particular article in EU AI Act. If I'm looking at the concept of human oversight in AI systems, I could look at some particular aspects of EU AI Act. But India's approach, I am not sure. I'm not sure that India's at present is looking at a comprehensive AI law. But that doesn't mean that there are no laws. Like I said, IP laws apply, consumer protection laws apply, uh, data privacy laws, to the extent that data protection aspects may apply. This conversation is twofold: taking existing laws, extending them to the extent they can to apply to AI, identifying the gaps, get obtaining consensus on those gaps, both from a technical perspective, both from an from a technical perspective, legal perspective, uh, innovation growth perspective, and then trying to sort of set up guardrails on those consensus, which is why, in my mind, laws and voluntary frameworks go hand in hand, because voluntary frameworks are more driven by they're not, because they're voluntary, they're not actual laws, but they also incorporate a desire to build in some check and balance into the AI development. When that ends up happening, I think voluntary frameworks, current laws, that is a combination that works well if there isn't enough consensus to pass a law. The other thing that happens in regulation, when we look at regulation, is that AI's application is very sector. It changes from use case to use case. In my mind,
Mm.
regulation can only happen if, even if there are 100 use cases spread across 10 different sectors, agriculture, healthcare, fintech, different sectors, if there are some common principles that emanate from those, where I can then agree that okay, this is what I need to legislate, then we
Mm.
legislate it. So the political imperative, the business imperative of legislation is not easy to answer in one go. But if we have to, as a practitioner, moving forward, understanding the value of building guardrails, or to put it in three words, risk mitigation and identification. Four words: risk mitigation and identification. I think if when you're looking at the AI regulatory space, you have to be very clear what the business is doing, what it intends to do, what current laws apply, what voluntary frameworks may apply to it. And we have to think of regulation from that lens. If we are lucky enough from an Indian lens to get a draft of a law that captures all of these concepts in one place, great. If we don't, we have to make do with this patchwork of way of operation.
Wow. So, Vibhav, how has your leadership style evolved over the years?
Yeah, that's so. I think you have to learn to delegate. You have to learn to. Uh, I think one of the key things that has stuck with me, and I mean, I read a lot on this area as well, is I think you have to show up every day, right, in whichever capacity you want. So leadership, it's. I mean, we see the closest that one can see leadership in a universal sense is cricket, right? And then they say that if you have a and they sometimes say that you don't make the star batsman the captain, because if you do, then if that batsman fails, then the everything else, sort of the leadership aspect, sort of revolves around it. So I would say that my leadership style is predominantly learning how to work with everyone the way they are comfortable with, understanding areas, and that takes time and experience to really understand that, knowing that not everyone is going to do things the way you do them. They cannot. Then you only, you're one unique person, right? You don't have copies of yourself anywhere in the universe. So you have to first accept the fact that the way you do things, other people would may do the same things differently. Then understanding how they do those things, then trying to align on certain common objectives. Obviously, in a workplace, when there are common tasks to achieve, some of those objectives are defined, but the processes of how to achieve those objectives are not defined. I think soft skills, empathy, understanding where a person is coming from, respect and seniority in my mind has no bearing. It doesn't matter to me whether it's a 1 year old associate, an intern, or someone who's 10 years senior to me, right? I think the alignment has to be on the task. The alignment has to be on what you're looking to achieve, and you have to be able to work across the team, irrespective of whatever may be the if there are any hiccups, to learn how to resolve them and just keep moving forward. I mean, I would look at leadership like that. I think leadership is the ability to work with multiple people on a common project, with seniority not playing a role at all. I
Wow.
don't think anything comes out. I personally don't think anything comes out from a ego, and two, from formal positions. Formal positions are very important. They are needed for structural organizations, but growth and innovation only happens when you are operating from a mindset of a flat hierarchy. Of course,
Hmm.
someone opposite to you will have their own value systems where they will respond and interact with hierarchy. But as a leader, you have to be completely flat in your mindset. And good idea could come from anywhere.
Wow. Okay. So my last two question: Who was influenced you professionally and personally?
I think professional, well, personal influence actually. Let's go with there first. Uh, I am quite deeply influenced by both my parents. Both of them are doctors. They've been working day in and day out since I know. I mean, they're even working. I mean, even now they have working schedules that go to 10 hours a day. They're not getting younger, so they work 10 hours a day, and I think that's and I think the way they interact with people, the way they balance different commitments, both my mom and my dad. I also learn a lot from my wife because I think she's completely opposite to who I am. She's happy go lucky. She's really, all the time, she's a it's a she's opposite. So she's not as intense as I am. So she really enjoys life. I mean, let me put it that way, right? So that's very helpful to know when you're buried and intensely involved in work. I also
Hmm.
learn at a personal level from my brother and my bhabhi also. My brother more so because I think it's a elder brother equation. I think they're more terse, brief, and to the point. So I think that's there. And even I would have to say my dog, because he's the happiest, luckiest person. He roams around the house freely, right? His only concern is us, and that's very informative on a day-to-day basis. You could be coming in with 100 other things, but you have this one person in the house who's just focused on you, right? So in a world where everyone's going mad, mindfulness, I'm still learning the art of mindfulness. I haven't perfected it at all, but I get that from him quite well, from my dog, right? But in the professional space, I think the impact has been very much people. I've been with Anand for 12 years now. It has
Hmm.
Mr. Anand, Praveen Anand, has played a big role. I think watching him. Uh, Actually, all my seniors, Praveen Anand, Archana Shankar, Safir sir. I mean, these are my immediate reporting manager. Sort of, well, now I'm sort of moved out, but who I've worked with for 12 years is Shravan. So I would say that there are a lot of people in Anand and Anand with whom I've worked with. Right, I am someone who picks up the good habits from everyone and sort of just keep moving forward. So I've also learned a lot from all these affiliate roles that I'm playing with for humanity, IIT. I learn from each person. So it's difficult to say, but yes, if you have to pin down on influence, it'll have to be parents, and I would say Mr. Anand and Shavan, because, and of course my wife, because these are people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, and influence can happen. If you're talking about influence from afar, who I've never met, I would have to say Dhoni and Kohli, for very different reasons. Dhoni for his detachment to tasks and to lead irrespective of the fact that he was in poor form. And I would say Kohli for the fact that he was, I mean, there's a lot said about Kohli, about his leadership style, and people don't agree with him. But I think his ability to to channelize desire and aggression in one direction and to keep persevering in that way is quite impressive. So that's had an influence. I don't know whether
Wow.
you were expecting that as a broad answer, but yeah, I mean, I'm someone who kind of
No.
picks and learns from different perspectives.
Interesting, interesting. So my last question: What advice would you give to young lawyers trying to make sense of the rapidly evolving IPR and AI
Right.
laws?
I think it's the first advice that I would give young lawyers would be that whenever they work in a professional environment, they have to really understand the task that they've been given. If there are any questions, ask them and do your research. Be confident in your answer before you actually give your opinion. I mean, I think that is one important advice. That you have to be in your initial years, and that's at least how it happened for me. In your initial years, I spoke very little and I researched much more. and then I sort of put forth my view. But the minute I am clear about my view and I can back it up with anything, and it could be research in 1 hour, it could be one day, then I express a view. Be comfortable in communicating that, but have some research to back you up. Second, I think, is that there has to be a certain level of basic level of discipline that is definitely needed, right? Because you're disciplined in terms of, I'm not talking about discipline that inhibits innovation, but you have to have a certain level of discipline and a structure for yourself. It'll help you, right? And third is that when you're looking in the IP space, it's a broad space, it's a great space. There are multiple things you can do. You can go into prosecution. If you're on the trademark side, if you're of a technical background, you can get into patent prosecution. If you want to come into litigation, there are as many options that you can probably take, and therefore you have to do your homework well. You have to be clear why you want to do IPR. You have to work on your CV in law school in trying to build an IPR flavored CV. And when it comes to AI, the entire generation that people who are working in AI, if I exclude the engineers who've been researching in this space, the field is as old as 1955. If I exclude the engineers, the non-technical folks have arrived here between 20, around 2019, 2020. Right? I also got into this in 2020. A lot of people in the space have gotten around this time. I know a couple of people who've gotten into this probably earlier in 17, 18, but not earlier than that. So this field is not more than 8 or 9 years old if you're looking at it from a non-technical lens. As the field is otherwise very old, right? And therefore, it's very important for students to really understand AI, appreciate AI, and sort of see where it fits within their own landscape of things and their own perspective. Because AI is not a field that it is an unstructured field, it will remain an unstructured path. You have to find your own fit within it and see where it intersects with your own goals, and then we can see. So you can do AI at an IP firm, you can do AI at a TMT practice, you can do AI in-house with a company, you could work with a legal tool developer and do AI, you could get into AI policy. The tracks are multiple. You have to first know your own sort of track and then embed AI with it.
Wow, beautiful. So let's go to the next round and understand Vibhav as a person. When you're not busy shaping AI policy or in code, how do you unwind? Any go-to hobbies?
I mean, I watch a lot of comedy shows. That is one way of unwinding a lot. I also not as regular as I would like to be. I enjoy going out for walks in nature. It's not as regular as I would like to be, but by default has been a lot of comedy shows. A lot of I do reading. I do read books also. I sometimes I get the time. I go to the gym, but that's also not so the gym and the exercise component is improving. It could improve far better, but it's definitely an aspect of unwinding. My ideal situation of unwinding is just to be on a beach, read a book, and just be there the entire day. And I've done that a couple of times in vacations. I even have I know which books I read, and I have associations of the wave crashing while I was turning the page of the book. So that I like very serene surroundings, but that's not practical to do every day. So on a day-to-day basis, it's predominantly for myself. It is predominantly watching a movie, watching a comedy show, stepping out in the park, and reading something interesting. Sort of that detaches myself from my work. But I'm a fairly intellectual. I mean, I enjoy a lot of things that engages my brain. So it may not necessarily my types of hobbies are not consistent with what people may perceive as hobbies. So I still like
Wow.
to engage my mind in that direction.
So, which is that book that you revisit again? First question, and one comedy show, which you like to go and bring that smile on you.
So comedy show is very easy. Comedy show is Friends is rerun hundreds and hundreds of times. When I can't decide what I want to watch, I watch Friends. Otherwise, I'm really fond of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which I've seen like multiple times. I also used to watch. I mean, I've watched Superstore. I've watched, but the go-to shows are predominantly Friends and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and at times Office, the one with Steve Carell. Right? These are short shows, 20 minutes, and of course, in the middle, I saw a lot of Seinfeld. Seinfeld's a really old show, but it's really funny. I think it's situational comedy at its best. In terms of a book, I actually I have different books for different reasons. There's one book I have in mind if I want to understand about economics of AI, I'll go there. There's a book on entrepreneurship. I would go to that book for if I'm it really depends on my thought, what I want to
Mm.
do that day. And I'm trying to inculcate this practice of trying to read every day like 10 pages, very recent practice. So the book is connected to what I'm feeling, and I have an association of one book with a particular thought. So
Wow.
so the selection happens based on that. I'm not necessarily reading one book in one period of time. I tend to pick up different books on different days.
Oh. So let's go to your memory down lane, your uh, experience at NUJS.
Right. NUJS is a fantastic law school, and I would say that it's considered in one of the top law schools in India, like along with NLS Bangalore and Nalsar Hyderabad, right? NUJS is a space, and I loved, and it's been 12 years since we graduated from there. It's a school that lets you be. You could
Mhm.
become a Rhodes Scholar in that law school. You could do nothing, or you could do become an entrepreneur. You could go into IP like I did. You could go to the conventional track and become a corporate lawyer. The reason I liked NUJS a lot is that it empowered you to be yourself over the 5 years that you were there. The other reason why I really liked NUJS, apart from the fact that I also met my wife there, is the fact that it was a completely student-run college, right? And that sort of learning in college first year itself, to sort of learn, observe the college president, uh, you know I became part of what is known as the NUJS Parliament, because I was head of a committee, conducting elections, sort of running it from the ground go, presenting a budget, sticking to that budget, trying to find sponsors to sort of run your own setup, uh, knowing that if you've made a request for something as simple as a projector to watch a cricket match in the middle of a 2011 World Cup, then finding out where did that chitti go, which secretarial person. So the bureaucracy aspect of it was taught very well at NUJS. So I think NUJS as a college is a great place to be. I think if I reflect back now, I would really credit it for the freedom and for the ability to help me choose how I want to be.
Wow.
Right, and I think that's the main thing about NUJS.
So let's go to your time at Boston during LLM. What's one personal memory from that time that stays with you?
Oh, that's an easy one. We made a lot of friends in Boston, right? And my friend circle was I ended up making friends, they became friends with each other. My friend circle ended up becoming 16 people from 11 countries. And married couple, single people. We went for a trip to Cape Cod after our program ended, and we needed a house for 16 people. I don't think there are many, so we ended up finding one place. And I think it took us 45 minutes to see the entire house, to find who's going to sleep where, how they're going to sleep, where are we going to cook, where is the dining table, where is the thing. And I think that memory just stays with me as an experience, because I think one, we were not convinced that we'll be able to find something that would accommodate 16 people, and we're talking about separate rooms. We're not just talking about sleeping in the drawing room on a this thing. So I think that experience of being there together, don't think it's possible to do that now with everyone busy in their own lives. But in college time, sort of doing that and being on that trip, I think that stays as a very, very fond memory.
Wow. Okay. So, Vibhav, if we asked your closest friends to describe you outside work, what three words would they say?
uh, Process driven, cricket fan,
Mhm.
and I think and you should be checked with them. And because they're my close friends, they'll probably say boring.
Okay.
because
Okay.
yeah, because they're I mean they're closest friends, right? So they're not gonna be honest. Also, they'll probably throw in one false answer as well.
Wow. So, what's one tradition or festival that holds deep personal meaning for you and your family?
It'll have to be Diwali. That's obvious. I think Diwali is a period that everyone sort of, it gets chaotic because you just get like 1 or 2 days off and everyone's sort of working. But it is definitely the one festival that you look forward to.
Beautiful. So, what are your plans for 2025 personally and professionally?
Well, I think they're intermixed in one sense, right? Personal plans is just to continue to find balance and to spend time. We went for a vacation. We're going for a trip again in a month. Just I think finding time day to day. So we live in a joint family structure, right? I mean, so in the one sense that I live on one floor, my brother lives on another floor, my parents live in the old part. We all have, I can never make it back for dinner, but we all have dinner together at 8 p.m. on every weekday. And then we kind of chit chat around for another half an hour after that. So my goal is to just, on the personal side, is just to keep continuing that process and sort of being involved to the best extent I can in that. From a professional perspective, I think it's pretty much clear that I am now very much entrenched in AI. I enjoy IP law a lot. I continue to practice it, but I am now sort of moving more towards AI and I'm exploring where AI is going and wherever it'll take me, I'll go. I mean, that's pretty much and it's not a limited to 2025, but 2020, it's an evolving field. So I think that's the only professional thing. And that goes back to the answer of the book, because I'm now letting this field be the way it is and just go along with it. It sort of emerged during COVID for me as well. So it was a transformative process, and I don't think if COVID not would not have happened, I don't think I would have been immersed in AI in the way I am right now. So I think I owe it, and considering that I've done AI parallel to a litigation job for close to 11 years and 4 years along with full-time litigation, I think 2025 I owe it to just pursue it now full time and see where it goes.
Wow. So, my last one, the googly one, describe Vibhav in one line.
Intense.
Wow.
I know
So,
it came instantly. But yeah, I think intense. Intense is a good yeah. That's a
wow.
yeah.
So, let's put you in the hot seat,
Hmm.
the rapid fire round.
Sure.
Your go to comfort food.
Or the dal roti bindi. I can have it anytime, any day. I'd probably do
Wow.
actually also. Yeah.
Your favorite color.
Blue.
Dream travel place.
I'll have to say Norway now. It was Australia. Managed to go there last year. Well, to Sydney and Melbourne, but now Norway, Northern Lights.
Wow. One thing about AI that freaks you out.
That people don't understand about it, no matter how much you try to explain.
One legal myth you wish people would stop believing.
That litigation takes time. It depends on the context and the area.
One word that best describes you in quote.
Focused.
Wow. IPR or AI? If you have to choose this,
Oh, I'll get fired for this one. No, it's a tough. I think now it's sort of veering towards AI with IP with it.
I know, I know. Okay. So the last one. Tea, coffee, or something stronger during late night drafting.
Oh no, no, coffee, coffee, all the way coffee. I mean, I literally went to, yeah, exactly, absolutely. I mean, I just went to, we just returned from the Middle East and I
Hmm.
came across a brand known as Percentage Arabica. It's not in India yet. So I am now focused on trying to think that where is that brand sold. I will go visit that place. It's like that. When I was like 15 years old and I came across Starbucks, right? And I would run to Starbucks. I have finally found a brand. My brother-in-law introduced me. He knows how much of a coffee fan I am,
Oh,
and he said that I have to take you to this joint. And then I discovered that it was a Japanese brand brought in Kyoto, known as Percentage Arabica, which is now only in UK, US, and of course in the Middle East. So we made
Wow.
sure every day we went to a different outlet of personal. I've actually gotten their tissue paper or something to with me to keep it with me. Like completely
Wow.
coffee, completely coffee.
Wow. So I will, whenever we meet, I'll autograph and give you this cup.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Absolutely, my pleasure.
So we have done the trademark also of the logo.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That's great. That's excellent. It's
Yeah, so we have
excellent.
got a lot of merchandise, but this will be, I know you're a
No, no, I'd be happy to,
coffee
I mean,
fan like
correct.
me, but I'm not so much into experiment with coffee. Minus a Nescafe with a lot of sugar, but coffee is favorite. So that's,
Wonderful. No, no, wonderful. It's almost like my bhindi craze. Everyone knows how much I love bhindi. Now my coffee craze is reaching to that level. Every place I visit, everyone has their own variation of coffee to
yeah, yeah,
give.
yeah.
So
I
it's kind of
know.
like that.
Recently, I've been to ये Volkswagen. They are अपना, what do you say? One of ये dealers in South Mumbai, Prabhadevi. They
Right.
organized a coffee brews.
Right. Very nice. Very nice. Would love to go to an
And
event.
yeah, yeah. So it was very wonderful seeing all. There are now coffee machine, different types in the market where you can make, and I'll share with you one of our links also where we did a special episode on one of my coffee speakers. She's a coffee, what do you say, connoisseur. So we had a conversation on the different brews, blends. So her
Sounds like
name is
my dream
Drishti
place.
Bindra.
Sorry, her name is B?
Drishti Bindra.
Oh, very
Now she's based
nice.
in Australia. She's in legal recruiting.
Oh,
So after
wow.
the main coffee, we did apna a special episode on what are the different brews and blends on all those.
I think I'll have to change the answer of my dream place from Norway to a place where I get coffee like that. That would be lovely. I can
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
envision it. Yeah.
So my friend,
Wonderful.
we go for this visits apna GRF, a great Indian restaurant festival, and after that we go to Starbucks.
Very
So you
nice.
got a
Very nice.
Starbucks a premium card,
Correct. Oh, very nice.
and I
Excellent. No,
gifted him Starbucks ka ye coffee mug.
nice. No, that's interesting because when I was leaving NUJS, I got a Cafe Coffee Day mug as a farewell gift because I spent a lot of time in CCD over there. So yeah. No, wonderful.
Yeah.
This is excellent. This has been a
Wow.
such a
Yeah. So
pleasure.
this is a book, and
Wonderful.
this is from my side with
Perfect.
my autograph with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This is
So, friends,
wonderful.
it was a lovely conversation discovering, ever evolving IPR. Now he's more into AI, frameworks, policies, and too many things. So, all those, what do you say, professional, I'll say, not legal, but all professionals who want to go into IPR because there are engineers, biotechnologists which we have featured. They become now patent, you're doing patent filing, prosecution, all those. So AI, as you said in the conversation, is applicable to non-techies also. So I'm inviting all those people, watch the episode, get inspired, like how we both now venture into AI, uh, responsible AI. We'll be having a panel discussion on responsible AI and other topics, as now Vibhav is part of the Coffee Tribe. So a coffee speaker becomes Coffee Tribe member community. So subscribe to the Coffee Conversation Show where there are 500 coffee speakers sharing their journeys, their insights, and get inspired by them. And if you want to feature live Vibhav, visit our website or a link by the Emerging India Forum or connect with a coffee speaker. They would put in a word and get you invited over here to have coffee conversation and continue the journey because there are many things happening like coffee speaker of the month. So I would urge Vibhav to become the coffee speaker of the month because then he'll get a, what do you say, coffee keychain
I am going to go for everything
and
coffee.
coffee
You,
posters.
my pleasure.
I'm
Yeah.
giving you that
You,
carrot.
you you have me you have me at coffee. All good. All good. I think that should be one of the reasons. Yeah, of course. No, no, of course. It'll be a pleasure. Thank you so much for hosting me. It's been a pleasure
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this
same here.
interaction.
Yeah.
And
So, signing off, and we meet with another coffee speaker. I would share you the link of that yesterday I did with Harini. She has developed, what do you say, mindfulness Zen IT app with her sister. So we want all our
very
coffee
nice.
speakers to take up mindfulness and meditation, and we're having a special episode on what do you say, how did this app idea came up, walk through to the app.
Wonderful. Will be great to learn about
Yeah.
it. Thank you, Mr. Virani. It's been a pleasure and looking forward to this shaping up. And of course, interacting you with coffee in as many ways possible.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Okay. Take it.
Cheers. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you.